play. Where in the world are the stay-at-home gamers? We're still at home.
Yes.
We're just in a different room.
Stay home.
Because we stay at home. Good evening. I am Darcy.
And I'm Brian.
And we are the stay-at-home gamers. And tonight, we're going to talk about some tips on how to handle when your kids don't want to play with you. Well, not just don't want to play with you, but don't want to... last week we talked about starting game night, family game night tradition, and let's say you put in all that work, you get that started, and you go to have your family game night, and your kid doesn't want to play.
Yeah.
It can be frustrating, especially if you put in the work of planning and it's not something that you typically do. Mm-hmm. And I don't want you to get frustrated because it happens. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and share some tips and ideas on how to handle that. And of course, if you have some tips that you have used, please share those in the comments and leave your questions in there too. And we will do our best to take care of answering those for you. So, it might sound super easy, but the number one tip that I have is to try again later.
Yeah, give a little break. Maybe.
Whether it's later that night, whether it's try tomorrow, try next week. Mm-hmm. Especially if it's something that's newer and that it's not something you guys have been doing regularly, it might take some time. Like change. Yeah, it might just take some time for them to get used to the idea of this is what we do on Fridays. It's just that schedule adjustment kind of thing. Just getting them used to something different. So
we have that with some where it's like they go, I totally get it no matter what, and then they play it and they're like, this is so much fun.
Right.
Just gotta try to coax them into it, and then they usually fine.
Right. We've had times in the past where they just definitely were like, no, we don't want to. But we see it more now when we're trying to introduce a new game because they're already used to different ones. They already know how to play them. And so sometimes they don't want to play something just because they're not familiar with it. So we do have that. And sometimes it might just be one kid that doesn't want to play.
Watches their kid play and I'm like, I want to play now. Yeah.
So that kind of goes sort of into my next tip, which is to have a backup plan. Mm-hmm. If you have a plan, if you had planned a family game night and one or more children do not want to play, you can have a backup plan either that you do something else, like maybe, as we said before, try again later, like you're going to have a movie night instead, do game night the next night, or
a backup game.
A backup game, yes. Like maybe something else that you know that they want to play. Maybe instead of a board game, then you're playing video games or something. Which leads into play anyway. Especially if it's only like one kid that for whatever reason doesn't want to play and your other one does. It's totally okay to play and not have everybody at the table. As much as we want everyone to be at the table, sometimes that's actually what helps get them to the table. Mm-hmm. We have that a lot, especially with the little guy. He'll see what we're doing. Like we're playing something with Arissa and then he gets interested and he's watching. Yep. And then maybe he doesn't play that time, but maybe next time he wants to mm-hmm. because he watched and he got interested. But also, the two of us play. Yeah. If the kids don't want to play, we'll play. And sometimes they want to join in after they see how much fun we're having. But also, like, we just enjoy playing games mm-hmm. together. So even if for whatever reason the kids don't want to join in, that's one of the reasons why we make sure to the best that we can, we get games that we know that we'll play together, whether or not the kids play. Like, we want them to play, and we do get some games that have them more in mind, but majority of our games, it's like, okay, if we will play it with or without them, then it's a good choice. So, we have a few games that require at least 3 players. That can get tricky if mm-hmm. the kids don't want to play. But in that, if the cats play. But in that case, that's where we'd have a backup plan where, okay, well, we'll play this other game instead then. If the kids aren't going to play, let's play this other harder strategy game or this longer game if they're not playing. But it's just one of those things, especially if you're not playing regularly, it gets them used to seeing it happen. So if they're seeing, it's It's really kind of like trying to get them to eat vegetables in a way, but it's not as terrible.
They're yummy.
Like, the more they see you doing it,
Yep.
you know, it just becomes more natural and just part of what you do. You know, it's like, oh, it's Friday, it's after dinner, it's game time. Like, it's just what they get used to seeing happen, and then they're more likely to join in. The other option, too, is to let them pick. Mm-hmm. If that's what was creating the issue, if you picked the game and they are not wanting to play, even after you've tried to introduce it a couple of times, give them a chance to pick something. Because kids tend to want to be more involved when they have more choices or feel like they're kind of in control of the situation. So even if you're narrowing it down to like this game or this game, but they get to pick, that might be more helpful instead of saying this is the game we're playing. Even though last week one of the tips that we gave was to pre-pick the game, but that's only if you spend half your time trying to choose a game. You want to, you know, try to not have that going on. So that would be another option if they're not wanting to play whatever it is that was selected, letting them pick. And that can even go to not just picking the game at game night time, but when you're making a decision to get a new game, having them involved in it, asking their opinion on what's the next game that we should get, or, you know, which out of these couple of games, which one sounds more interesting to you.
Yeah. I've done that a few times.
They love going to the game store and helping to pick out stuff. Mm-hmm. They also liked trying out the games at the game store.
Yeah. Or game fair.
Mm-hmm. I didn't put it on my little list, but actually changing the scenery, I guess you would say, can be helpful too.
Yeah, playing at a friend's house or something like that.
Yeah, like if you...
If friends are playing, they're going to
going somewhere else. Maybe it's, for whatever reason, they didn't want to do it while you're at home. Like at our local game store, they have an area where you can play games from like their game library in the back. Most of the time, it's a fairly affordable cost to do that, but they do have free to play days where you can just go back there and play. So even something like that, maybe taking them there so that they have something different to do when it's nice out, even going outside. You could put a picnic blanket down or go to, you know, like go to the park and play at a table, going to a friend's house. There's different ways to kind of mix it up. But mainly the biggest thing is that we try not to make a big deal out of it, which when it comes to kids, it's kind of like the, I guess, number one kind of parenting rule that if they're having an issue with something like that, you don't need to make a big deal out of it. It's okay if they don't want to play. It's okay if, you know, they're just not going to join in on this week, maybe the next week. But if you give them time, they'll eventually join in with everybody. The main thing I just want to...
Don't force them to do it.
Right. And then that's what, especially with the not making a big deal of it, you don't want them to feel like it's a punishment that they've decided not to do it, or make it feel like a punishment to be involved. Mm-hmm. We want family game night to be a fun time. We want that to be enjoyable for everybody to get together. And sometimes plans have to change, or for whatever reason everyone's just not feeling it, and we just don't want to make it.
You can pay for a prize too, or something like that.
Yeah, like you could add in like a little incentive thing. Maybe there's something else that the
winner gets to pick next time.
Yeah, that just might make it a little bit more. Especially sometimes with our kids, you can tell that they are interested, but for whatever reason, they just need something to just sort of push them. So it might be like, okay, well, we'll go out, we'll have a special treat or something after we play. Like, it's kind of this whole fun evening. Mm-hmm. And then it's something that they're looking forward to. And then after a while, they start getting used to it, and then they just start asking, like, when are we playing again? It happens, and I just don't want anyone to feel frustrated if it's something that, you know, you haven't encountered before, and then especially if you're trying to start up a regular family game night when you weren't doing it before, and I don't want you to feel frustrated. Yeah. Just something new to get everybody used to. So I'm just going to run through those real quick to help summarize, especially if you're just joining us. So So we talked about trying again later, having a backup plan, playing anyway with those who that want to play, giving them a chance to pick out a game, not making a big deal out of it, other incentives or extra fun things just to make the whole experience special and fun. Yeah, well, I mean, there's times when they ask us to play certain games and I'm like, oh, I don't really want to play this game. But I try not to act like, oh my god, I don't want to play this game. I try to
divert.
Yeah, like, oh, I would love to play a game. I was really thinking about this one. Or do you remember how much fun we had with that game last time? What do you think about playing this? Because then your brother can play with us too. Or things like that. I mean, there are times where I've been like, I just really don't feel like playing that one tonight. But for the most part, it's like, trying to like candy coat it a little, sugar coat it a little bit into something else so that it's more fun for everybody. So drop your questions in if you have any about what to do when your kids aren't wanting to play, and we're happy to answer those in the comments. If you haven't joined our Family Game Night Challenge, make sure to do that. You can click the sign up, or you can go visit stayathomegamers.com, and when you sign up for our email, you will receive a printable with 16 different suggestions or ideas of types of games to play. And when you do that, you can also join our Facebook group, which you can join without doing the challenge too, by the way. I want to make sure people realize you don't have to be in the challenge to join our Facebook group. It's called Positive Family Gaming with Stay-at-Home Gamers. It's linked somewhere on the Facebook page as well. Like if you click groups, or it should show up when you're scrolling.
Yeah.
You can go ahead, request to join, answer the questions. There's just a couple of questions to help us keep the content in the group relevant to everybody, and help with game suggestions and things like that. So go ahead and join in on those things. And then on Thursday we are going
to the desert.
Yeah. We are going to go to the
Forbidden Island. Now we gotta go to the desert.
Yes. So that should be interesting.
Yeah, it's been a while since I played that one.
So Forbidden Desert on Thursday, and then next Tuesday we are going to talk about why we Extra Life. Extra Life is a charity for kids. It helps with Children's Hospital. We help raise funds for Children's Hospital of Wisconsin, but it's
all the money that's donated to it goes directly to the school.
Yes.
Our school.
We just came off of...
I heard kids in the...
We just came off of a school fundraiser stuff. So, and that money doesn't come to, us first, and then it goes straight to them. But we will be doing a charity gaming marathon here on Facebook Live, November 2nd and 3rd. We are splitting it up over 2 days because... We are parents and we have kids, and it's hard for us to just do this huge marathon just in one day. But we will be talking a little bit more about why we participate in that and why it's important to us to help raise money for them and help out the kids. So we will talk more about that next Tuesday, as well as what our goals are. And we are still working on what some of the
milestones.
Yeah, things that you could make us do or whatever when we reach certain
goals or donate certain amounts or whatever.
Yeah. So if you have some ideas of some things that you would like to see or like to do, let us know. You can either private message us, leave it in the comments, however you feel comfortable doing that. We're open to ideas because we want it to be fun, family friendly, but we want it to be fun, and it can be silly, it can be slightly embarrassing and that kind of stuff. Or maybe it's something, I don't know, maybe it's something fun where at a certain level a group of people get to do a private, gaming session with us or something. I don't know. We're open to ideas. So I don't want to tell you the ones that I have so far. But we're open to ideas, and we can talk about that a little bit more next week because we want it to be fun for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So that is that. I think tonight is kind of short and sweet. So yeah, thanks so much for joining us tonight, and we will see you at the next game.